Now I can say good afternoon. I was going to say good morning, but good afternoon. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for staying. I was informed that we have quorum, so we can get started. Yay, thank you for being here. We're going to begin with a word from Pastor Ben, and then we're going to dive into business.
Thank you, Christine. Welcome. Thanks, everybody, again for staying, and a special shout out to my 845 folks who returned. Yay. Let's join in a word of prayer. Gracious God, we give you thanks for this day and for the opportunity to be together. We ask, Lord, that you would bless us in our time together in this meeting, and that the decisions we make, we do so with your Spirit in mind. Bless the work of our ministry and mission that we do in your name, and continue to bless us as we do life together. And we ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
So welcome to our summer congregational meeting. Today, first I wanted to talk a little bit about our leadership and who serves on the council. If you were here in the sanctuary before we started, you saw a slide deck that Lisa put together that showed the council members, but I want to take a minute to introduce everyone in case you didn't know them. Janice Martinson is here. She is our communications officer. Where's Janice? Yay! And Dave Trivy, our fearless financial officer. Yay! And Ellen is our president-elect. Thank you, Ellen. I'm Christine Louie. I'm your current president. And Tony, where are you? Tony is our HR advisor. And Lisa Laxon is our ministry liaison. And then we have several members at large. AJ is our youth member at large. And then Angela Brown and Veronica Lentfer are our other members at large. I don't know. Angela was here. Okay. So that is your Bethel Council. And we have quorum, so we can move into our agenda. The first order of business will be to approve our minutes, and then we will have several ministry reports, our pastor report, ministries report, our congregational life, and the big business for today is our fiscal report, and then voting on our budget for the next year. And then a little bit of new business, we'll be voting on a new youth member and presenting the Eric Hansen Award recipient. So let's start with the meeting minutes from our winter meeting. Those were circulated in the bulletin. Everyone was asked to read them. I need a motion to approve those minutes, and then we will vote. Hella, thank you for making the motion to approve the minutes. Do I have a second? We have a second. Can you say your names for the record? Okay, thank you. And all those in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed, say nay. Excellent. Good practice for the budget later. Thank you. All right, we're going to begin with our pastor report from Pastor Ben.
Okay, so I kind of thought of a theme of building on our foundation as we think about the coming year. And what I mean by that certainly is just an encouragement from me, and this goes to our individual life, but of course our life as a congregation, is to appreciate and understand where we have some strengths and where we have some opportunities to grow. So the first item I said was community engagement. So we have a community engagement effort task force that's been working and ever trying to reach beyond ourselves, to connect to the community, to show up in service projects as well as community events, and always for us to keep in our mind that we want to grow as a family of faith. So being an invitational church. So the encouragement to you as individuals be keep on inviting your friends and neighbors. Ask them to join you for worship. You can ask them to join you next week at the Labor Day retreat. That's a fun entry point to Bethel's community. Our food trucks was a great thing over the summer. Those are easy opportunities to invite people but also the out and about events that Tom puts together with his team are great entry points. So we want to continue to engage people where they are, to show up, as I said today, with grace and love in our hearts, but always trying to continue to do that building up the kingdom work. The second thing that I really want you to understand, and maybe this goes without saying, but our children and youth ministry at Bethel is outstanding. And I want you to understand, I have pastor colleagues who have no children in their church. And it's more frequent than infrequent that is the case. And we've had many of our families that have joined Bethel specifically because they don't want to have their children be the only children in the church. So when they find that there's children and they're doing a good job with the ministry, that is a real strength, and we should be leaning into, and we have great staff. Amanda and Tom do a great job. Robin does a great job with Susan and with confirmation, but there's a legacy there, there's strength there, there's a foundation. And when you talk about people, about your church, I hope that this would be something that is front of mind, is that we do a great job with children and youth ministry, and it's something for us to see in ourselves, but also to share as we invite people. And then the third thing I wanted to just also lift up, and again, this is one of those strengths that you might not think about very often, is fellowship. And that was one of the things that stood out for me in our call process, was how much fun you all like to have together. And that's great. That's not always the case. Last year when we did our community listening, when we went out and talked to residents of the community, one of the biggest things that people are looking for is connection, is community. And there's not many places in our culture today where you can find connection. You get it with when you have children who are school age, you meet other parents, but after that it gets really hard to make new friendships. So continue to strengthen the bonds within the congregation. If there's folks that you don't know but you see all the time, take them to lunch, have a cup of coffee. Don't always talk to the exact same people after worship every Sunday. Try making some new connections and strengthen the ones that you have, and really just appreciate, and I know that you do, but that's why I said it goes without saying, but really do appreciate that there are friendships and bonds that in many cases are lifelong here. And I just want to thank you for the spirit of fellowship that's here, and know that that's one of the big foundations to build upon for the future. So it continues to be my pleasure to serve and partner with you in ministry, and I know there's lots of other things to get to today, so continued blessings upon us all.
And next we have our ministry report from Lisa.
Hi, everybody. I thought I was in trouble during second service because Pastor Ben said I was going to give you a ministries update. And that's not what I planned to do because it just takes too long. We have so many great things going on. So rather than trying to just pick a few or whatever, I just want to say thank you to everyone who's involved, everyone who supports doing God's work here at Bethel and out into the world. And I also want to stress that some of you may think that you're not doing much to support God's ministries, but you are. You don't have to show up here 5 times a week for quilting, choir, whatever. It's fine. You know, maybe you contributed, maybe you bought some baby stuff. Maybe you bought some school supplies. Maybe you just gave a little extra offering. Maybe you prayed for VBS. It's all, you know, you're involved. So thank you, however you're serving and helping out. And the other thing that I want to do is to invite and encourage you to come to the Ministry Celebration Barbecue on September 7th. Several teams, as usual, will have tables. So if you want an update on what the ministries are doing, let them do it themselves. Talk to the people that are really doing it. They'll do a better job than I would anyway. At the ministry fair, there's also going to be volunteer opportunities. Particularly, it'll be your first chance to sign up for this year's rotating safe car park. And there will also be sign-ups. We're going to do another service Sunday. Some of you might remember in the spring we had a really fun day where people could try quilting, where people could help do gardening and other things. We're going to do it again in October. So look for, I think it's going to be Mark. And you can sign up for that too. And most other teams. You can even come and talk to Christine and me at the council table, and if you want to run for council, we'll tell you all about it. And lastly, the reason to go to the ministry celebration is that you can enjoy some great food and some great fellowship. Road Dogs is bringing the food. You guys will bring the fellowship and the fun. So hope to see you there.
Thank you, Lisa. And the ministry fair is between services after the second service. Okay, great. And now we have our ministry report from, or our financial report from, no, Tom, I'm so sorry. Tom, it's your turn.
Yeah, we run the AV around here. We know how it goes. It's nice to see you all. First of all, I'd like to say a big thank you to those people who have been doing outdoor worship for over 30 years now. People setting up, tearing down every week. It's like a big number. I did math, but I forgot. I'll let you know in 2 weeks what it is, our last one. But amazing. So give them a round of applause. They can hear you far and near. So it's an amazing thing that we get to do. So I'm super excited because I get to do a lot of different things around here, and I get to talk to you today about 4 of them. We talk about facilities, youth group and college age, NAMI, counseling office, and upcoming congregational events. So let's get going. So first of all, Torvin Hall, many of you have wondered, and I've stood up here for years saying it's happening. It is happening. Our fire sprinklers, everything in the buildings are done. So all we're waiting for now is the city water to cut into their big pipe, hook up their big pipe to our other pipe. So we're working on that piece right now, so we're on their time schedule, so hopefully that'll happen soon. Regarding the refresh, our permit is signed. We finally got a permit signed, so clap for that, because that's a big deal. Yeah. So right now, all our bathroom fixtures are ready to be installed, tile, all that stuff. Also now we're just waiting on the sanitation district. So everybody has their little thing, right? So they just wanted just $1,500 and a bunch of other stuff that we need to get to them. So that's happening right now. So hopefully we will see more movement. Dave will be spending more money very soon, so I know you'll be happy. So that's happening. Also, a little visual that you really can't see, although you probably recognize a yellow patch that you see at almost every corner, every intersection, every Costco, every store that makes your cart rattle when you go across it, and all your little Coke bottles go rattle, rattle, rattle. That's the new standard. So we're having to rip out our, for the 3rd time now, our ADA ramp that goes out to the parking lot, because no longer are you allowed to have ramps that go into a traffic area. Makes a lot of sense. That, I don't like that stuff because it gets slippery. So we're trying to, there's some other products. There's a red product that we found in New York, some that aren't quite as slippery. So we're looking for different ways to do it. So there'll be 2 of those as you come out of the building. Also along the end over here by Torvin, also be a strip. Their intention is for blind people, because you can use your stick and you can feel it, right? So that's a really great thing. It makes it a little bit rougher for everybody else. So it's a standard that I'm not super excited about because of all the other things that go with it, but that's what we got to do. So that's a big rip out thing that we're going to be doing out here as part of the parking lot. Villa Montessori, we've had them here for a year now, which has been amazing. They're great partners. They've done a lot of partnering with us in doing improvements to the buildings. They did the flooring in 2 of the rooms, paid for a new gate that goes into the playground area of theirs, and are just really gracious, really fun, really easy to work with. So we're super happy about Villa Montessori. Rosinka, our newest partner, also so far great. They've been on campus for 3 weeks now, and their school started a week and a half ago. And we've got a bunch of new signage. If you come in from the parking lot, Mary did some great designing on signage as to where the church office is, and to where the Kid Connection is, and to where we go for these 2 schools. So we're working out the balance of what works out well for them. But they're great. They're super happy to be here, and we are very happy to have them. Oh, youth ministries. I knew we had to wait for a great one. My very favorite part of the work that we do here. This last year, we've had some amazing events, including our Booked 4 event. I know you all love that title. This year, the emphasis was on Indian boarding schools. Learned a lot about the travesties that the church was involved in these boarding schools, so that was kind of our learning piece of that event. Mexico trips, weekly things, and also with our youth ministry committee, we're going to be revisiting our safe community practices. There's some, along with fingerprinting and a certain amount of time that people have to be at Bethel before we let them work with kids. We're also going to be doing some sexual abuse and suicide prevention training, intentional training. Those trainings are also available to you if you'd like to do those. If you'd like to be more aware, if you with your own kids or grandkids or neighbors or just in general, it might be a great thing for you to check out. College age, Harumi's going to walk up here as I'm talking about this. So we're ramping up our regular get-togethers. They did a big retreat to Bear Valley this year, and there's more local kids that are going to community college, so we've got some critical mass here. And Harumi and Ohana are two sisters. By the way, I don't know if you knew that. They are two sisters. And Harumi said, I have one sentence I'd like to say.
I love my job.
What about another?
I'm really looking forward to working with the high schoolers and the young adults this year.
You can clap for that, too. Yes, that's good. That's sure, whatever you want to say. They've been really great. Harumi's starting her second year doing this with us, second year. And her sister, Ohana, is also helping out. So we've got like a youth staff that is managing and being here on our Wednesday nights and our Sunday mornings, and we are super blessed to have both of these young women doing this with us. Okay, now another very cool thing. NAMI, National Alliance on Mental Illness. Amanda's been heading up a task force that's been doing some work on how we become a stigma-free mental health faith community. Amazing work. What part of that work is there's 10 markers of things that we need to do to qualify to be on their database. So what we can do, if you're in a different part of the country and you want to find a church that is really taking this seriously, you can look up, you'll find Bethel there. One of the upcoming things soon is in September, October 4th, thank you, is a walk, a NAMI walk that we'll be doing to raise awareness and raise funds. So that's very, very cool. So if you want to know more about that, talk with Amanda. She's the boss of that. Also, the youth group, here's a little statistic I'm going to give you. One of the number one reasons that trans and gay kids kill themselves in conservative churches is they're told they're going to hell. Just let that sit for a second. That's big. That's real big. And we've been talking about, how are we going to have more community engagement? So some of these other things you saw are about that. We have made a real intentional statement to the high school across the street and to other young people that this is a place they can feel welcome. So once we get the youth room remodeled and new windows, there'll be like a window dressing with this flag on it. I could tell you more about this flag, but it's basically the inclusive flag. And we really want to make a statement that kids are welcome here. So we'll have more conversations with the congregation down the road, but want to let you know kind of what's going on. Wow, that's a funky picture. All right, counseling office. Right around the corner there, we're converting one of our older storage areas, sorry, Joanne, into a wonderful counseling office that we're having. Our speaker, Amy Sargent, is going to be working with a pool of counselors that can come in and offer counseling services to the community, also to the congregation. So we're getting the nuts and bolts together, and now we're going to work on how that works and how that looks. So coming right now. And then, here we go. This is the cool thing about what I get to do. I get to do facilities things. I get to replace sewer pipes. I get to work with Amena Monday. I also get to work with young people, which is amazing, and all of you on Labor Day retreats and different events. So Labor Day retreat next week, make sure you sign up. Also, our Mexico trip is coming up the end of next month. Tons out and about. There's amazing things. So if you're trying to get involved, we've got something for you. So thank you very much. And Robin has an outburst at almost every moment. Brunchy is one of our newest out and abouts. So thank you. The 17th of September. Robin, anything else? 10 to 2. Anything else, Robin? I'm done. I'm going to go sweat somewhere outside, so thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Also, you didn't mention the basketball game coming up, too. September 6th? 3 spots left. All right. Next, we have Dave, who is going to go over our financial report and then the proposed budget.
All right. Thank you. First, I want to recognize members of the Finance Committee, the staff members, Pastor Ben and Farah. Also, our officers, with Christine, Ellen, myself, and an awful lot of the time, Janice shows up at our meetings as well. And then our 2 civilians, Anne Marie and Dave. Dave, my immediate predecessor as treasurer, and Anne Marie as president emeritus. So we appreciate all the work that the team puts together. Our major things that we do, we keep track of what's happening with the general fund giving, managing the property leases. Sometimes there's negotiations involved in that. A big part of our job that you get to see today is completing the budget information, keeping track of some of the capital campaign on the financial side of the income and expenses. Sometimes there's major facility repairs that are necessary, and we have to figure out where the money is coming from for those sorts of things. And then we have our audit committee that looks over things, and sometimes we have a report to respond to on that, make sure that all the different processes are running up to standard. One thing that we got new on our plate this year is managing a major bequest. So I'll have a little bit more about that in a future slide. First, I want to talk about the general trend in congregational giving. This is a chart I've shown quite a few times. The light blue line is the forecast where we hope to go. We hope to be at 725,000 in giving to the general fund for the entire year. And the dark blue line is where we have actually given. So you can see we actually hit 725 around November. But then after we got into the new year, we were kind of on track. And since then, there's been a growing gap in what we expected and what has been coming in. So we would just leave it on your hearts to look at what you've been giving. If there's room in your budget to be generous toward Bethel, we can certainly use that. And you know it's being put to good use from all the things that Tom talked about. We've kind of leveled out in the last couple of months, so we're hoping to see things go forward. Meanwhile, over on the capital campaign side, that's been a focus. We're in the kind of headed toward the finish line of the 3rd year of this. And the dotted line is what we expected originally based upon the different commitments that had been filled out. And then the red line is what actually came in. And what we found was that many people wanted to give their contribution right away, and so we had quite a bump. Rather than the income coming in at the end of the year, it's come in throughout the year. So we've been ahead. Plus, there have been a number of people making donations to the capital campaign that did not make an original pledge, and some who've gone beyond their pledge already. So we want to finish that out strong coming up this fall. And then, of course, Tom gets to do all kinds of wonderful things over in Torvand Hall with the money that comes in. The last thing I want to talk about is, this might be news to many of you, those of you who've been coming to the Finance Committee or the church council meetings have heard about this already. Our long-term member, Victor Chin, he passed away back in January. And then after a couple months, we got a letter from his lawyers saying that we had been part of his estate planning. This is a plan he put together last century, back in the 1990s, and it's been updated from time to time. and he took care of his family, but he also included a number of charities, and Bethel was remembered in his estate planning. He created something called the Victor L. Chin Foundation, basically from the assets that were left in his estate after making all these individual bequests to his family. And we're receiving a small slice, about it's 0.5% of the total asset value as valued on December the 31st of each year. And we'd have no idea how many assets are in this. So you can do the math yourself, put 0.5% on that, and that's what we should receive sometime during 2026. So, of course, he was a significant contributor to Bethel's general fund. So in this way, he gets to continue doing that. The more surprising piece and more of immediate use was he left us part of his IRA account. He's left it to several different organizations. And to give you a sense of how significant that was, on June the 30th, it was almost $400,000. So a significant amount. It was a lot of NVIDIA stock in there. There's some Apple stock, there's some Broadcom, there's some index funds, there's some a lot of things. So we want to manage this as something we're going to not immediately spend. We're going to kind of look at it, see what we need. We've identified several immediate needs, like paying for the sewer fix-up that Tom mentioned. That was, I think, $13,000. It was very nice to be able to use that money there because the income from the general fund was not up to our forecast. Our reserves got down to zero, actually. If Victor's funds hadn't been there, we would have had to look at how we might quit spending. Even though we have a lot of cash on hand because of the capital campaign, that's all restricted. So it really came at an opportune time. So just lay it upon your hearts, that was an amazing legacy and wonderful planning on his part. And if any of you feel motivated to do likewise, you have my encouragement. So we'll move on now to the proposed church budget. And of course, there's two parts. The first part is the income as we look at this. First, as I mentioned, the general fund giving has not been quite up to the forecast. When they asked me what's it going to be for next year, I had to make that decision about April. And I thought we could hold steady at 725. I now realize that could be a stretch, but we've come back from lean periods in the past. So I'm a little uneasy. If you want to ease that, feel free to contribute to the general fund. Our rental income, there's some good news. Last year when I stood here, we had just gotten Villa Montessorian, but they're only renting half of the rental space that we had previously rented to the Tulip kids. And so they were taking the preschool portion. We were looking to have the rest of the Zor classrooms, although we're holding on to half of them for our own use. The ones in the side that are closest to Torvald Hall, we'd like to rent those out. And as Tom already discussed, we found a great partner in Racinka, and they're coming here. This is something new for them. They were uneasy about some aspects of it. Let's say this is just moving off of their San Jose campus and kind of splitting things as a little bit new to them. And so we are only going with a one-year contract with them, but soon we should be able to hear from them that whether or not they would like to extend that to multi-year. So it's great to have them in for 1 year, and we hope that they are going to really love our campus and like what's going on here, and being able to then commit for a full 5 years. But they bring in, let's see, the change in the total rental income is going up by $121,000. And you see, Zor is going up by preschool and Zor together are going up by $111,000. And that is mainly adding the Zor aspect. The Villa Montessori is paying just a little more because that's part of the contract we have with them. Then our short-term rentals, we thought those might go down quite a bit, but Vera has been extremely clever in how she has been able to find additional programs to bring in during the summer. And because we had extra classrooms, she was able to bring in even more programs. And so we actually had a higher income from that than expected on our budget this year. And so we're looking next year, it'll actually increase by $10,000, although the actual amount will go down because last year we didn't know how much we would bring in. We were a little conservative in budgeting. This year we're very confident that we will bring in $52,000 for that. And the last item is kind of a small item, lower interest rates on checkings and savings. As Tom is going to go out and spend our capital campaign money, we will no longer have it sitting in an interest-bearing account. And not only that, but with the pressure on the Fed to reduce interest rates, we expect the income to go down. So there'll be two reasons. Nothing to get too excited about, it's just normal activity. So our total income is $1.12 million, and this shows an increase of $117,000. The bulk of that coming because we have been able to find a good tenant for the Zor classrooms. Maybe before I go on, is there any questions on the income side of things? All right. Now we'll go on to the expense. There's a lot more categories here, so we've split it into two slides. First is our staffing. Last year, because we knew it was going to be a tight year, we chose not to have any increase at all for staff. And so this year, we went with a little, 2 years' worth. We figure about 6% COLA to bring them up in alignment. And then we also have the community engagement position. We have not filled that yet. It was in last year's budget for 6 months. Now it's there for 12 months. So when we get someone in, they can be assured that they'll be here for the full year. On the parsonage, some good news there. We got our welfare exemption. We applied for it last summer. We finally came through in May, and we save about we save $22,000 a year in property taxes that we do not have to pay on that home in San Jose. There's another $2,000 that we save because of lower mortgage interest. However, when we save on the interest, we pay it in principal because our mortgage payment stays the same. It's just on the balance sheet, it's two different things, so we have to show it both as lessening as an expense and increasing as a balance sheet transfer. So the next category is loans and leases. We not only have the principal added from the parsonage, but also from the sanctuary. And the sanctuary is a bit more of a mature loan, and so we see more principal being paid on the sanctuary, even though each one is approximately $500,000 in a mortgage left at the moment. We also include the copier in there. So this category is not a real increase in expenses. It's more of a transfer from one part of the balance sheet into another. On to the ministry and programs. We've been holding tight on those for quite a few years because we didn't have the expanding money. Now that we have the new rental agreement, we feel comfortable moving ahead, giving young adults an extra $1,500, and then increasing our community engagement by $2,000. The third one is one I'm particularly excited about. As you know, we've been trying to tithe on our income, which works out, we take our contributions to the general fund and we apply every month 7.5% to that, and we apply that to various benevolences, some of which are individual benevolences that are brought forward by the benevolence committee, and others are going to the Sierra Pacific Synod. And then we get up to 10% because each month we put a particular ministry out there for people to give to directly. Plus, there are a number of other special gifts that we get throughout the year. So we have typically been giving maybe even more than 10% on the income that we get that are gifts to the general fund. But now the income that we get from our leases has become a much more significant part than it was, say, 5 years ago. And so it's been on my heart that we should find some way of acknowledging that. And I, of course, you might know I'm an analytic, and I love spreadsheets, and I came up with a formula that was rather complicated. And I got some counseling from particularly Anne Marie, and she said, Dave, what's you're taking the income, you're taking the expenses, you're taking the difference, you're applying a percentage. You don't know that until January when the income tax forms are done. What's going on here? You know, this is way too complicated. People aren't going to understand this. And she pointed out, you know, that number that you came up with is about 1% of the top line. So let's keep it simple. Let's just take 1% of the top. And if our expenses are too much, you know, we'll learn from this. We'll go ahead. So I'm confident in stepping out and putting that 1% on there. Last two areas, technology and equipment. Good news, we got a new phone system. We're saving money on that, $5,500 a year. And then the last is facilities and overhead. And this is mainly just expenses going up in insurance, utilities, some of our repairs, we had a question on our tax form. We had to talk to the accountant about that. It cost $2,000, which was almost as much as the tax we owed. So, you know, these kinds of fees have been going up and up. So to acknowledge that, we're not really doing anything more. We're just acknowledging what has actually happened. We have another almost $21,000 in the budget for facilities and overhead. So when we total everything up, we have an increase of $70,000 in expenses from last year, well, the current year to next year, which brings us to $1.1 million. We have an unrelated business income tax. Well, last year we had less income, so I'm expecting our obligation to go down in that area. And so we're setting aside $2,000 to pay our income tax. And so the whole net income after tax is $21,500. So, you know, on a $1.1 million budget, $21,500 is not a large amount of grace, shall we say. But this is much better than last year, where we actually were running a deficit in $25,000. So I feel good about we are back on a financial track that is sustainable. If we can keep our tenant, then we're looking good. If we want to do more things, though, we're going to have to see an increase in giving. So we'll keep those things on our hearts. So there's the full, there's nothing here that I haven't already talked about. But this breaks it down what the budget item is for this year in each of the categories, income and expenses, what the difference is in the middle column, and what the new amount is. So you can see last year when we totaled everything up, we had a negative $24,000, and then this year, when we total everything up, we have a positive $21,000. Okay. So are there any questions on the expense side or any of the numbers that appear up there? Okay. I thought Hella had a question, but she's just fanning herself. Okay, Jamie.
Come, Jamie, come.
Hi, Dave. Sorry, I told you I wasn't going to ask any questions in the lobby. I guess I lied. I didn't make it to the meeting on Thursday. I'm sorry about that. But a couple of questions. So one is related to the general fund. Do we have information about the number of I guess you would call it number of givers or anything like that? How the giving relates to how many individuals are giving? Just because the numbers are going down, I was curious about, is that because there's less people giving, or are there the same amount of people giving but giving less, or what does that look like?
Well, someone in my household does a stewardship report every now and again. Do we recall how many givers we have?
The number of faith promises we got this year was quite a bit lower than last year.
Yeah, we got about 80% of the faith promises this year, but because we didn't have a stewardship chair to kind of rattle things on the follow-up, that's an interesting, it's kind of a bookmark, but we don't really know what that might mean. What we do know is of those who did pledge last year and made a pledge for this year, that there was an increase of about 5%. And when we looked, in March, April, when I realized we had a 2-month trend, my question to the person who knows Shepherd staff and the database, well, how are people doing on their pledges? And the people who made a pledge were current, although this is a little technical. Those of you who make a yearly pledge, you're not behind pledge until the end of the year, until August the 31st. And so it's for the annual pledgers, it's hard to tell where they are. But as far as those who pledged, it looked like they're pretty much on track. So the question is, are there fewer people who, I should say, are there people who don't make a pledge who, for whatever reason, are not able to contribute? Or we also noticed that our stock donations dried up after January. And there were some economic concerns at that point, you might remember, with tariffs going on, and were people kind of being cautious at that point? Well, in the last month, we received 2 stock donations, so people may be feeling a little more comfortable about the finances. So I'm not aware of any concerns that people might have with the way the congregation is going or direction. Nothing like that has come up. So I'm not a psychologist, and I can't tell you why people make decisions on how to give.
Got it. Okay. I guess that takes me to my second question, which is, if the number here is 725, and the graph shows, let's say, 650, is there a plan B, or are we just going to let that 75K go, or is there going to be a marker in time, maybe when there's an adjustment that says, hey, okay, it's not going to be 725, so we're going to do this and this and this?
Yeah. So let's go back in time, say 12 years, where we had to make that kind of decision. And the sort of decision was to put our associate pastor on 2/3 time, and to keep, we had staff cuts that we had to make and things like that. To be honest, the gift from Victor has given us the ability to gauge things and see how they're going. And yes, if this, with Victor's gift, we have enough to make up the current gap, and if it continued, to do that as well. I would be concerned about the health of the congregation, and we might have to do a deeper analysis of who gave last year versus who's giving this year, and try to understand what is going on with that. But I would say at this time, Victor's gift removes that concern from me as the fiscal officer in the short term. And so I feel like we can continue, give the staff the planned increase, continue to have a strong youth and children's program, and not pull back in those areas. So that's the 2 concerns I have financially for the congregation are this gap that we've seen and whether we're able to keep the long-term tenant. And so if you look at last fall, we had a lot of people caught up in September, October, and November. That may well happen again this year for whatever reason. And so I'll continue to keep an eye on that.
Gotcha. Okay. The Victor gift makes sense. Thank you for that. So that's a good segue into my last thought, which is something that could probably be taken away from the meeting. But just to put it out there, because I'm a part of the endowment committee, I don't know if it might make sense if I'm not sure what shuffling could be done. Even maybe it can't be, but if there is higher risk versus lower risk investments that are already there. It's possible that if the endowment committee meets and has a conversation about it, that the endowment committee might be interested in a few of the more higher risk investments, and maybe there's a way to shift some of that from one bucket to another without going through the process of selling and rebuying, for example, if it's a stock-based asset. So just to put that thought out there for another conversation another time.
All right. We'd like to work with the endowment committee. That'd be great.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. All right, Anne Marie.
So you mentioned that we knew going into this year we weren't going to have the half of ZOR. So we were using some of our reserves and they got depleted. Can you comment on how we're recovering that?
On how we're covering the...
Yeah, so we're doing something to shore back up our reserves. I'm not sure if you explicitly said. Can you comment on that?
No.
So I think, Dave, are we taking some of the Victor Chin money?
Okay. Well, yes, Victor's, we have identified about $50,000 in short-term use of the Victor's money. And we're completing his commitments that he had made both to the general fund and to the capital campaign as one aspect. We're paying for the big repair on the sewer line. We've decided that if there are known big expenses related to the facility, that we want to take those out of Victor's funds. And that impacted the budget this year because there was $5,000 in there for repainting this building and also ZOR. ZOR. And so we're using it in those ways. I just heard this week that there's a boiler issue in the preschool building. And so, when these short-term things come up, instead of going to our general funds to pull them out, now we have Victor's funds to pull them out.
And in unencumbered assets.
Yeah, well, these go on the balance sheet, and what I call unencumbered assets. It's a little metric I came up with on my own, and it's current assets minus current liabilities. Because if you just look at the cash in the bank, it looks like we were doing really, really, really well. If you take out all of the restricted funds from there, it's like, oh, we're not doing quite as well. Then if you add in Victor's funds, you go, yeah, we're doing well. And if you'd come on Thursday, you would have seen a very interesting graph that dramatically demonstrated the effect it had. So yes, our unrestricted current assets is a measure of how much we can do, how much reserves we have that we can spend on emergency items or opportunities or things like that. So, all right. So we'll flip ahead. This is what you're actually voting on. This summarizes the thing in much fewer numbers. Total expenses of $1.1 million. Total receipts of $1.12 million. Tax liability of $2,000, and net income after tax of about $21,528. I doubt if we'll be that precise. That's the way the math worked out. So the Finance Committee has approved this. The Church Council approved it Tuesday night. And so now you get to approve it. So I'll turn it back over to our president. May as well.
Okay, so the council is forwarding this as the budget that we vote on. Could I get a second motion from the congregation? Tom, thank you. And with that, all in favor of approving the... Are there any further questions before we vote? Okay. All those in favor of approving the proposed 26 budget, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. All right. For the minutes, please record that we have approved this budget. Yay! And really a huge shout out to Dave and Farah for the work that they have done to prepare this budget. Okay. New business. Normally we vote for members on the council in January, February at the winter meeting, but our youth member is on a different cycle. AJ has been nominated to continue for another year as our youth at-large member. Could I please have someone make a motion to vote on AJ? Thank you, Corrine. And do I have a second motion? Second. We have Robin with a second. All those in favor of having AJ serve as our youth member at large for the next year, please say aye. 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 Those approved say nay. Thank you, AJ, for serving again. And most of you don't have the joy and pleasure of sitting on the council meetings, but AJ is not a silent member. He is very active. He shares, he leads devotion sometimes, so it is a blessing to have you on the council. Thank you. All right. Our last order of business today is to talk about the Eric Hansen Award and to announce the recipient. So as a reminder, this is an annual award given to someone who exhibits Christian ideals and principles in all aspects of their daily life, and someone who participates in service beyond the Bethel community. And the person who receives this award receives a check for $500 that they can designate the organization that will receive that award. We received nominations, and I am very, very happy to announce that the winner of this year's Eric Hansen Award is Chris Ford. So I don't think that Chris is here. Many of you may be aware, or you may not, but he has served for over a decade helping the San Jose Family Shelter with breakfasts on Sunday morning for families in need on certain designated Sundays. So we want to honor him for the work that he has done in serving the families at that shelter. So when you see Chris next time, tell him, good work, well done, good and faithful servant. So that is our business for today. Can I close in prayer and we'll go? All right. Heavenly Father, it is such a joy and a blessing to be a part of the Bethel community, God. We thank you for the work that is done in and through this church, God. We pray for wisdom and discernment with all of the resources that this community has to serve others and to honor and glorify you. In your Son's precious name, amen. Go and be blessed. Thank you for being here.